Zanari Ambassador Yaksa smirked condescendingly at the human delegation across the conference table. His scaled lips curled in disdain. He had always viewed Earth as a cosmic backwater, its inhabitants barely worth acknowledging. But today, the pathetic humans had the audacity to call an emergency session of the Galactic Council. "This better be important," Yaksa growled, his forked tongue flicking irritably. "The Zanari Empire has little patience for the tantrums of lesser species." Dr. Richard Perry, Earth's lead scientist, met the aliens' glare with steely determination. He had endured decades of mockery and dismissal from the galactic community, toiling tirelessly in his underground lab to crack the secret of teleportation. And now, finally, his team had achieved the impossible. "Ambassador Yaksa," Richard began, his voice steady, "for too long, the Zanari and other so-called advanced races have belittled humanity, treating us as inferiors. But no longer. Earth has unlocked the key to stable matter-energy teleportation, a feat that has eluded even your mighty empire." Shocked murmurs rippled through the council chamber. The implications were staggering. With teleportation, Earth could bypass established trade routes, redraw economic networks, and project military power across the stars. The balance of galactic power was about to shift seismically. As the room erupted into chaos, Richard watched the expressions of the alien delegates morph from disbelief to grudging respect to naked hunger. Earth had just become the most valuable player on the galactic stage, and everyone, it seemed, was eager to claim a piece of that power for themselves. Unbeknownst to Richard, the tyrant king of the Zanari was already plotting to subjugate humanity before they could fully exploit their newfound leverage. On Earth, a cutthroat struggle for control of the technology raged between governments, megacorporations, and wealthy investors. The repercussions of this day would reshape the very fabric of galactic civilization. Earth's future and humanity's destiny among the stars hung in the balance. The age of human teleportation had begun, and the universe would never be the same. As the Zanari delegation's shuttle touched down on Earth, Ambassador Yaksa's face twisted into a predatory grin. He savored the irony, the once dismissive Zanari now forced to grovel before the primitive humans. But beneath the diplomatic facade, Yaksa's mission was clear. Secure the teleportation technology, whatever it takes. The meeting with Dr. Richard Perry and his team was a tense affair, the conference room crackling with barely restrained hostility. Yaksa alternated between honeyed flattery and thinly veiled threats, his forked tongue weaving a web of manipulation. "Surely you see the wisdom in sharing your breakthrough with the galactic community?" Yaksa purred, his eyes glinting. "The Zanari Empire can offer resources beyond your wildest dreams. Refuse and, well," he let the implication hang in the air like a coiled viper. Richard met the alien's gaze unflinchingly, his heart made. "The answer is no, Ambassador. This technology is too powerful to be monopolized by any one race. We'll manage it responsibly, for the benefit of all." Yaksa's scales rippled with barely suppressed fury, but he maintained his composure. "A pity. I had hoped we could reach an understanding." With a curt nod, he stalked from the room, his delegation trailing behind. The Zanari's retaliation was swift and ruthless. Within hours, several key members of Richard's team vanished, snatched from their homes and labs by covert Zanari operatives. Simultaneously, Zanari warships began aggressive maneuvers near Earth borders, their intentions unmistakable. Panic gripped the global council as the crisis escalated. Richard, haunted by the weight of responsibility, proposed a daring gambit. "We have to show them that we won't be intimidated," he declared, his eyes blazing. "It's time to put teleportation to the test." A crack team of Earth's elite special forces, equipped with prototype teleportation devices, launched a high-stakes rescue mission into the heart of Zanari-controlled space. In a dizzying display of tactical prowess, the human operatives outmaneuvered the technologically superior Zanari, extracting the hostages from under their very noses. News of the operation sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The once derided humans had not only developed teleportation, but wielded it with devastating effectiveness. On the Zanari homeworld, a young scientist named Zara watched the unfolding events with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Unlike her hidebound superiors, Zara saw the humans as kindred spirits, fellow seekers of knowledge and innovation. The sheer brilliance of their teleportation breakthrough ignited a spark of forbidden excitement within her. Risking everything, Zara reached out to Richard through encrypted channels, her message urgent and clandestine. "Dr. Perry, I believe we have much to learn from each other. Imagine what we could achieve if we combined our scientific acumen. I propose an alliance, a secret collaboration to push the boundaries of teleportation." Richard, simultaneously wary and intrigued, recognized the potential in Zara's offer. Gaining an alien perspective could accelerate their research by decades, and fostering a connection with the Zenari, even covertly, might just prevent all-out war. As the Zenari blockade tightened around Earth and the Tyrant King's invasion fleets massed, humanity prepared for a battle unlike any in their history. The coming days would test the limits of human ingenuity and grit. In his lab, Richard worked feverishly to refine the teleportation technology, his partnership with Zara already bearing incredible fruit. The future of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hinged on the outcome of this pivotal moment. The age of human teleportation had begun, and its full repercussions were yet to be written. The lab's alarms blared as a brilliant flash of light erupted in the center of the room. Richard and his team stumbled back, shielding their eyes. As the glow faded, a crumpled figure lay on the floor, wisps of smoke rising from its scaled skin. "My God," Richard breathed, approaching cautiously. It's a Zenari." The alien's eyes fluttered open, revealing a startling intelligence. "Dr. Perry," she gasped, her voice weak. "I made it." Richard knelt beside her, his scientific curiosity warring with concern. "You know me? How did you—" "No time," she interrupted, wincing in pain. "I'm Zara, the one who contacted you. I had to escape. They were going to—" Her words trailed off as she lost consciousness. Richard sprang into action, barking orders to his stunned team. "Medical team, now! And someone get me a secure line to the Global Council." Hours later, Zara sat propped up in a hospital bed, surrounded by a mix of doctors, scientists, and grim-faced security personnel. She recounted her harrowing escape, describing how she'd cobbled together a makeshift teleporter using her own designs and stolen human data. "The Tyrant King?" Zara's voice trembled. "He plans to extract the teleportation knowledge from my mind, then discard me. I couldn't let that happen, not when I saw the potential for our races to work together, to push the boundaries of science." Richard leaned forward, his eyes shining with possibility. "Zara, if what you're saying is true, your insights could revolutionize our understanding of teleportation. But the risk—" A stern-faced woman in a military uniform cut in. "The risk is unacceptable. This could be an elaborate Zenari trap." Zara met the woman's gaze unflinchingly. "I've risked everything to be here. Test me, question me, do whatever you must, but know this, the Zenari will come for me, and for your teleportation technology. Together, we might stand a chance. Divided, we'll fall." The room erupted into heated debate. Richard watched Zara closely, noting the desperation in her eyes, the tremble in her scaled hands. His gut told him she was genuine. "Enough," he said, silencing the argument. "I'll vouch for her. We'll take precautions, but we can't squander this opportunity. Zara stays and we work together." The next weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Richard and Zara's collaboration yielded breakthrough after breakthrough. They refined the teleportation process, increasing its stability and efficiency. Soon they had developed compact, portable teleporters that could be easily integrated into ships and even individual combat suits. As Earth's technological capabilities surged forward, the balance of power shifted. Human fleets, now equipped with teleportation drives, struck at Zenari strongholds across the galaxy with surgical precision. Supply depots vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving Zenari forces in disarray. Command centers found themselves suddenly exposed, their defenses circumvented by teams of teleporting human operatives. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Admiral Elena Chen watched as her ships blinked in and out of existence, outmaneuvering the once unstoppable Zenari armada. "Status report," she barked. "Ma'am, Zenari fleet is in full retreat. We've taken out their primary weapons platform and... A junior officer interrupted, his voice tight with excitement. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from multiple sectors. Rebellions are breaking out on Zanari-controlled worlds. Chen's eyes narrowed. It seems the Empire isn't as united as they'd have us believe. Signal command. It's time to press our advantage. As the Zanari Empire reeled from Earth's onslaught, fissures began to form in its once impenetrable facade. Oppressed species, long ground under the Empire's heel, saw their chance and seized it. Teleportation technology, shared judiciously by Earth, became a powerful tool in the hands of resistance movements. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council, Alexander Novak, Earth's chief diplomat, addressed the assembled representatives. His voice rang out, clear and passionate. For too long, the galaxy has suffered under the tyranny of the Zanari Empire. Earth extends its hand in friendship to all those who seek freedom and self-perseverance. We offer not conquest, but partnership. Together, we can forge a new era of peace and prosperity. Cheers erupted from many of the delegates, but Alexander noted the wary glances exchanged by some of Earth's oldest allies. The ground was shifting beneath their feet, and not everyone was comfortable with humanity's meteoric rise. As he left the council chambers, Alexander's comm unit buzzed. It was a message from Richard Perry. Breakthrough in teleportation field stability. Need to discuss implications ASAP. Alexander sighed, squaring his shoulders. The work of reshaping the galaxy, it seemed, was a long way to go. Richard Perry's eyes widened as he scanned the data scrolling across his tablet. This is incredible, he breathed, looking up at Zara. The Zanari scientist nodded, her scaled features set in unbreakable spirit. The Tyrant King's plans are even more aggressive than I feared, she said, her voice low. He's mobilizing forces from across the Empire. This isn't just an invasion, it's an attempt to obliterate humanity entirely. Richard's fingers flew across the screen, inputting commands. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing the movements of vast Zanari fleets. We need to get this to command immediately. Your inside knowledge, it could be the key to our survival. As Richard and Zara raced to brief Earth's military leadership, the first salvos of the Zanari offensive were already underway. On the distant mining colony of Ceres Prime, alarms blared as massive enemy warships materialized in orbit. Colonel Sarah Chen sprinted through the base's corridors, barking orders into her comms unit. This is not a drill. All personnel to battle stations. Initiate Protocol Omega. The colony's defenses sprang to life, energy shields humming as they enveloped the sprawling complex. But it was the human counterattack that caught the Zanari completely off guard. Squadrons of Earth fighters blinked into existence behind the Zanari fleet, their teleportation drives giving them unparalleled maneuverability. Admiral Elena Chen, observing from the bridge of the UES Defiant, allowed herself a tight smile as the enemy formation disintegrated into chaos. Target their supply ships, she commanded. Cut them off at the source. Meanwhile, on Earth, Alexander Novak found himself embroiled in a different kind of battle. The diplomat's shuttle touched down on New Ankara, seat of the Galactic Trade Consortium. As he strode into the Grand Assembly Hall, he could feel the tension crackling in the air. Esteemed colleagues, Novak began, his voice steady despite the hostile glares. I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a partner. Earth's teleportation technology has the potential to revolutionize trade for all our worlds. Murmurs of skepticism rippled through the alien delegates. A towering Volcran ambassador rose, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with agitation. And why should we believe you, human? Your species has upset the balance of power. Many fear you seek to dominate us all. Novak took a deep breath, steeling himself for the long negotiations ahead. He knew that every moment he spent here was crucial, not just for Earth's diplomatic future, but for the very survival of humanity. Back in Dr. Perry's lab, Zara hunched over a complex array of equipment, her claws dancing across holographic interfaces. Richard watched in awe as the air before them shimmered and distorted. With a thunderous crack, a chunk of raw iridium materialized on the teleportation pad. Zara's eyes gleamed with triumph. It worked! We've just revolutionized resource acquisition. Richard's mind raced with the implications. This could change everything, not just for the war effort, but for our entire economy. As they reveled in their breakthrough, a priority alert flashed across their screens. General Marcus Keller's face appeared, his expression grim. "Doctor, we need your team's expertise. The Zanari invasion fleet has entered the solar system. It's time to put your theories to the test." Richard exchanged a determined look with Zara. The fate of Earth now rested on their shoulders, and the true test of human ingenuity was about to begin. The Zanari invasion fleet loomed over Earth, a vast armada of sleek warships that blotted out the stars. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Admiral Elena Chen's mind focused as she surveyed the holographic tactical display. "All ships, execute Operation Quantum Leap," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of humanity's fate resting on her shoulders. In an instant, Earth's defense fleet vanished, only to reappear scattered throughout the Zanari formation. The enemy's carefully choreographed assault disintegrated into chaos as human ships unleashed devastating close-range attacks. Aboard the Zanari flagship, the Tyrant King raged at his subordinates. "How is this possible? Crush these insolent humans." But it was already too late. Earth's teleportation-enabled fighters danced between capital ships, their superior maneuverability allowing them to strike with impunity. Zanari vessels exploded in brilliant flashes, unable to effectively target their nimble opponents. As the battle raged in space, Richard, Perry, and Zara worked feverishly in their lab, pushing the boundaries of teleportation technology even further. Sweat beaded on Richard's forehead as he made minute adjustments to a complex array of equipment. "If this works," he muttered, "we might just turn the tide." Zara's scaled hands flew across a holographic interface. "Initiating quantum entanglement, now!" A blinding flash filled the lab. When it faded, a chunk of the Zanari flagship's bridge sat before them, complete with a stunned navigator still strapped into his control station. "My God," Richard breathed, "we did it!" Within hours, Earth's forces had systematically dismantled the Zanari fleet's command structure. The Tyrant King watched in disbelief as his invasion force crumbled around him. On the Zanari homeworld, news of the crushing defeat spread like wildfire. Crowds filled the streets, their collective roar shaking the very foundations of the imperial palace. General Tarkax, a rising star in the military, watched the chaos unfold from his office. "The time has come," he murmured, setting his plan in motion. As riots engulfed the capital, Tarkax's loyalists moved swiftly. The Tyrant King, stripped of his authority, was unceremoniously dragged from his chambers. Tarkax himself delivered the ultimatum: abdicate or face the fury of a populace demanding change. In the aftermath, Tarkax wasted no time. He purged hardliners from the remaining leadership and opened a secure channel to Earth. Alexander Novak, still on New Ankara, received the transmission with a mix of hope and suspicion. "People of Earth," Tarkax's holographic image flickered to life, "I come to you not as a conqueror, but as a supplicant. The Zanari Empire is no more. We seek peace, cooperation, and a chance to atone for our past crimes." Novak's mind raced, weighing the potential risks and rewards. He glanced at Zara, who had been summoned to verify Tarkax's identity. "It's him," she confirmed, her eyes wide. "And I believe he's sincere." Novak took a deep breath, knowing his next words could shape the future of galactic civilization. "General Tarkax," he began, "Earth is willing to talk." As negotiations began, the first steps towards a new era were taken. On the Zanari homeworld, public trials of the former regime commenced, broadcast across the galaxy. The Tyrant King, once feared across 1,000 worlds, now stood small and defeated before the justice he had long denied others. Zara watched the proceedings from her new home on Earth, her heart heavy with the weight of history. She had been granted full citizenship, a gesture that spoke volumes about humanity's capacity for forgiveness and inclusion. In the lab she now shared with Richard, they continued to push the boundaries of teleportation. Their latest breakthrough promised to revolutionize medicine, allowing for the precise manipulation of matter at the cellular level. "Just think," Richard mused, examining a holographic model of a human cell, We might be able to cure diseases that have plagued us for millennia. Zara nodded, her mind already racing ahead to new possibilities. And beyond that, the applications for construction, for terraforming, we're only scratching the surface. As Earth took its first tentative steps as a galactic leader, the challenges ahead loomed large. Former Zanari vassal species approached cautiously, scarred by centuries of oppression. Resource-sharing agreements were signed, cultural exchanges initiated, but underlying tensions remained. On the fringes of human-controlled space, teleportation technology sparked a new gold rush. Overnight, barren asteroids became booming frontier towns. But with opportunity came lawlessness, as smugglers and outlaws exploited the vast distances between settled worlds. Back on Earth, society grappled with the implications of their newfound power. Streets filled with protesters, some embracing the change, others fearing it. Religious leaders decried the unnatural manipulation of matter, while transhumanist groups clamored for unrestricted access to the technology. In the halls of power, the debate raged on. Hardliners pushed for strict control over teleportation, citing security concerns. Progressives argued for openness and collaboration with alien species. As Novak left another heated council session, his comm unit chimed. An urgent message from one of Earth's outlying colonies flashed across the screen. Terrorist attack. Teleportation hub sabotaged. Multiple casualties. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of leadership settle ever heavier on his shoulders. The road ahead would be fraught with danger, but humanity had come too far to turn back now. Alexander Novak's comm unit chimed again, this time with an urgent priority alert. He frowned, tapping the screen to accept the incoming transmission. General Marcus Keller's face materialized, his expression grim. "We have a situation, Novak. There's been an attempt on your life." Novak's blood ran cold. "What? When?" "Just now, a Zanari strike team infiltrated your quarters on New Ankara. If not for our new telesuppression grid, they would have succeeded." Novak glanced around the assembly hall, suddenly aware of how exposed he was. "Who's behind this?" "A renegade Zanari commander named Vortak. He's gathering disaffected elements from the old regime. This isn't an isolated incident. We're seeing attacks on human outposts across the frontier." Novak's mind raced. "We need to respond, but carefully. If we overreact, we risk alienating our new allies." Keller nodded. "Agreed. That's why I'm forming an elite strike force. Codename Vanguard. We'll use Zara's telesuppression tech to hit these insurgents hard and fast." Over the next weeks, Vanguard's operations sent shockwaves through the galactic underworld. Rogue bases fell in lightning raids, their defenses useless against Earth's superior teleportation technology. But the crowning achievement came deep in hostile space. Novak watched the tactical feat as Vanguard materialized inside Vortak's supposedly impregnable fortress. The ensuing firefight was brief, but intense. "Target secured," Keller's voice crackled over the comm. "Vortak is in custody." Novak allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, but it was short-lived. Reports flooded in of unrest on frontier worlds, local populations chafing under hastily imposed martial law. On the colony of New Horizon, Novak faced a sea of angry faces. "We liberated you from the Zanari," he shouted over the crowd's jeers. "We're here to help." A stone flew past his head. "Oppressors," someone screamed. "No different than the Empire." As Novak retreated to his shuttle, a broadcast caught his eye. A striking Zanari female, her scales shimmering with barely contained fury, filled the screen. "I am Shalara," she declared, her voice resonant with passion. "And I say to all who will listen, humanity's promises of freedom are empty. They seek only to replace one master with another." Across the galaxy, her words found fertile ground. Colonial militias stockpiled weapons. Strikes paralyzed human-operated facilities. And then came the explosions, precisely targeted attacks that crippled Earth's teleportation hubs. In an emergency session of Earth's ruling council, tempers flared. "We must crush this rebellion now!" General Keller pounded the table for emphasis. Novak shook his head. "More force will only drive more systems into open revolt. We need dialogue, compromise, While you talk, our people die, Keller snarled. In her lab, Zara watched the news feeds with growing despair. She had hoped her work would usher in an era of peace. Instead, she saw only escalating violence. A chime at her door startled her from her brooding. Richard entered, his face drawn with concern. Zara, we need to talk. There's a lot of anger out there, directed at you. Zara nodded slowly. I know. To some, I'm a traitor. To others, a collaborator. But I still believe we can make this work. We have to. As civil war erupted across the frontier, Novak knew time was running out. He needed a solution, and fast. The fate of humanity's fledgling empire hung in the balance. Alexander Novak's comm unit buzzed incessantly. He swiped it open, revealing a flurry of urgent messages. His eyes widened as he scanned the contents. What is it? Zara asked, sensing his tension. Novak's eyebrows furrowed. The Tanari Collective. They've imposed steep tariffs on our teleportation tech exports. Zara's scales rippled with concern. That's a direct challenge to Earth's economic dominance. It's more than that, Novak said, his voice grim. It's a powder keg. Within hours, Earth's response came swiftly and decisively. Novak watched as the ruling council voted to cut off the collective's supply of rare minerals critical for starship construction. The trade war had begun. Months passed and interstellar commerce ground to a halt. On New Horizon, once bustling spaceports stood empty. Cargo containers piled up, their contents rotting in the sweltering heat. In the corridors of power, voices grew strident. Defense Secretary Liam Foster's face filled vidscreens across Earth, his rhetoric uncompromising. We cannot allow the collective to strangle our technological advantage, Foster declared. It's time to remind them of humanity's strength. Novak fought back, pleading for restraint in closed-door meetings, but his words fell on increasingly deaf ears. On Tanari Prime, the capital world of the collective, similar scenes played out. The moderate government collapsed under pressure from the militant Takar faction. Their new leader, Korvash, addressed the collective's worlds with fire in his eyes. For too long we have cowered before human expansionism, Korvash roared. No more. We will humble these upstart apes and reclaim our rightful place among the stars. As diplomacy faltered, the first shots were fired. Along the Orion trade corridor, a human freighter strayed too close to a Takar patrol. The resulting firefight left both ships crippled and crews dead. Zara, watching events spiral out of control, made a daring plan. She commandeered a diplomatic shuttle, hoping to broker peace through direct talks with collective moderates. Her vessel dropped out of hyperspace at the rendezvous point. Suddenly, alarms blared. 3 Takar warships decloaked, weapons locked on. Unidentified vessel, a harsh voice crackled over the comm. Power down and prepare to be boarded. Zara's hands flew over the controls, desperately trying to reactivate the teleportation drive. A searing beam of energy lanced out, crippling her engines. In orbit above Earth, General Keller received the distress call. Without hesitation, he ordered a strike team to teleport directly to Zara's coordinates. The ensuing battle was swift and brutal. Human soldiers materialized inside Takar vessels, catching crews off guard. But the collective ships fought back fiercely, their new stealth technology neutralizing much of Earth's tactical advantage. As the skirmish raged, Novak watched in horror from Earth Command. This is it, he muttered, the spark that ignites the inferno. Across the frontier, the drums of war began to beat. Warlords long held in check by Earth's might saw their opportunity. Raids on human colonies intensified. The vaunted teleportation fleets found themselves stretched thin, struggling to respond to multiple crises. On Earth itself, the mood turned dark. Protests erupted in major cities, with demonstrators decrying the government's belligerence. No blood for teleporters became a rallying cry. Novak worked tirelessly, reaching out to neutral worlds. We stand at the precipice, he warned in encrypted communiques. Your voices are needed now more than ever to pull us back. But events had taken on a momentum of their own. In her lab, Zara labored day and night, pushing teleportation technology to its limits. The fruit of her efforts was the Hypergate, a permanent portal capable of bypassing enemy blockades. As the first successful test concluded, Richard embraced her in celebration, but Zara's expression remained troubled. "What's wrong?" Richard asked. "This could turn the tide of the war." Zara's gaze was distant. "That's what I'm afraid of." Zara's eyes snapped open, her body convulsing as she gasped for air. The sterile white of a medical bay slowly came into focus. She was alive. "Easy," a familiar voice soothed. Richard's face swam into view, lined with worry and exhaustion. "You've been in stasis for months. The damage from the Takar attack was extensive." Zara tried to speak, but her throat felt raw and unused. Richard pressed a cup of water to her lips. "The war?" she managed to croak. Richard's expression darkened. "Over, Earth won, but at a terrible cost." As Zara recovered, she immersed herself in reports of the conflict's aftermath. Earth had emerged as the dominant power, but the galaxy was far from stable. Resentment simmered, particularly among former subject races. In her lab, Zara pored over data from the Hypergate project. The technology had proven decisive in the war's final battles, allowing Earth's forces to outmaneuver their opponents. Now, a network of hypergates linked key worlds, cementing humanity's grip on interstellar trade and travel. But all was not well. Reports flooded in of attacks on outlying colonies and supply lines. Zara's screens flashed with grainy footage of masked insurgents planting explosives on Hypergate installations. A priority alert cut through her research. It was Novak, his face haggard with lack of sleep. "Zara, we need you at the council chambers. Now!" The mood in the chambers was tense. General Keller paced like a caged animal, while a tall, severe-looking man Zara didn't recognize stood erect and rigid at the head of the table. "This is John Falco," Novak said by way of introduction. "He's been appointed director of the new Hyperspace Security Agency." Falco's cold eyes fixed on Zara. "Dr. Vaughn, your expertise is required. We're facing a coordinated insurgency led by this individual." A hologram sprang to life, revealing a grizzled Taunari with a cybernetic eye. Novak provided context. "High Commissioner Tharn, former resistance fighter against the Zanari. Now, it seems, he's turned his skills against us." Falco's voice was like steel. "We need to shut down Tharn's operation, by any means necessary." Zara felt a chill at his words. She opened her mouth to object, but Novak shot her a warning glance. In the months that followed, Zara found herself drawn deeper into HiSec's web of surveillance and counterinsurgency. She watched with growing unease as Falco's agents employed increasingly brutal tactics. One evening, as she was leaving her lab, a young woman accosted her. "Dr. Vaughn, I'm Serena. I've been studying your work on phase-shifting technology. I think I've made a breakthrough." Before Zara could respond, HiSec agents materialized, roughly shoving Serena away. "For your own safety, Doctor," one said blandly. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She accessed classified reports, her horror growing as she read accounts of enhanced interrogations and black sites on distant moons. A notification chimed. Another attack, this time on a remote research colony. As she scanned the details, Zara's blood ran cold. The coordinates matched where she had last seen Serena. The feed showed utter devastation. Somehow the attackers had bypassed all defenses, emerging from within the colony itself. As Zara watched the recorded footage, her mind raced. The method of infiltration. It bore an uncanny resemblance to her own incomplete phase-shifting equations. Zara's fingers flew over her console, initiating an encrypted transmission to Novak. "We need to talk," she said, her voice urgent. "Things have gone too far." Zara's encrypted transmission reached Novak moments later. His haggard face appeared on her screen, brow furrowed with concern. "What's happened?" he asked, voice low. Zara's words tumbled out, detailing the attack on the research colony and her suspicions about the phase-shifting technology. Novak listened intently, his expression darkening. "This goes deeper than we thought," he said. "Meet me at the old observatory in an hour. We need to talk in person." As Zara made her way through the dimly lit streets, a shadow detached itself from an alley. She tensed, ready to flee, but relaxed as she recognized Serena's slight frame. "Dr. Vaughn," Serena whispered, eyes darting nervously. "I need your help. They recruited me, HiSec. The things they're doing with our research." Before Serena could elaborate, a sleek black vehicle rounded the corner. Both women instinctively shrank back into the shadows. Through the tinted windows, Zara glimpsed the severe profile of John Falco. The car passed without slowing. Serena exhaled shakily. "I can't stay, but you need to know. Dr. Nakamura, he's pushing the boundaries of what's possible and what's ethical." With that cryptic warning, Serena melted back into the night. Zara continued to the observatory, her mind racing. Inside, she found Novak deep in conversation with a tall, serene-looking alien. A Malu, she realized, recognizing the spiritual leader from news broadcasts. "Zara," Novak said, "we have a problem. HiSec's actions are fracturing alliances across the galaxy. Amalu's been working to bridge the divides, but..." An alert chimed on all their devices simultaneously. Amalu's multifaceted eyes widened in shock as they took in the footage. On the screen, entire asteroids winked out of existence, erased from space-time itself. The carnage was staggering. Entire populations vanished in an instant. "By the first light," Amalu breathed, "what have they done?" Novak's face was ashen. "This is Falco's work. He's weaponized your research, Zara." Before they could process the implications, alarms blared throughout the city. The ground bucked beneath their feet as gravity itself seemed to waver. "Tharn!" Novak spat. "He's retaliating." They watched in horror as buildings twisted and crumbled, their foundations warped by fluctuating space-time. Screams echoed through the streets as panicked civilians fled the chaos. Amalu turned to them, his alien features set with perseverance. "We must act. This violence will consume us all if left unchecked." Zara nodded grimly. "I think I know someone who can help, but we'll need to move fast." As they hurried from the observatory, Zara caught sight of a familiar face in the panicked crowd. Serena, her eyes wild with guilt and fear. Their gazes locked for a moment before Serena vanished into the throng. Zara steeled herself. The fate of the cosmos itself might rest on what they did next. Zara's mind raced as she navigated the chaos-filled streets. The cosmic upheaval around them made every step treacherous, reality itself seeming to warp and twist. She led Novak and Amalu through the pandemonium, her eyes scanning for a familiar face. There, a flash of recognition. Serena huddled in the shadow of a crumbling building, her eyes wide with conflicting emotions. Zara approached cautiously, hands raised. "Serena," she called softly, "we need your help." The young scientist flinched, torn between flight and duty. I can't. You don't understand what I've done." Novak stepped forward, his voice urgent but calm. "Whatever it is, there's still time to make it right. The entire galaxy is at stake." Serena's shoulders slumped in defeat. "It's Falco. He has the final quantum keys. With them, he can synchronize the interdimensional shift. But the cost..." Her voice trailed off as the ground beneath them lurched. In the distance, a skyscraper twisted impossibly, its structure defying known physics. Amalu's multifaceted eyes glimmered with ancient wisdom. "Sometimes, to save all, we must risk all." Serena nodded, steeling herself. "I'll do it, but we'll need help." The next hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Serena worked tirelessly, interfacing with HiSec systems, while Zara provided critical calculations. Novak coordinated with Earth's remaining command structure, and Amalu led his Akari followers in esoteric rituals that seemed to stabilize the fluctuating cosmic energies. As the final preparations were made, Falco strode into the command center, his face a mask of unwavering dedication. "It's time," he announced. Serena input the last quantum key, her fingers trembling. Alarms blared as the interdimensional shift began. The assault on Tharn's strongholds was swift and devastating. Entire sections of space flickered and froze, caught in quantum stasis. Zara watched the tactical displays in awe and horror as Earth's forces, guided by Falco's ruthless efficiency, systematically dismantled the insurrection's command structure. On the primary view screen, they witnessed the final confrontation. Serena and Falco, leading a strike team, breached Tharn's inner sanctum. The firefight was brutal and swift. When it ended, Tharn lay subdued, his cybernetic eye dark and lifeless. A cheer went up from the command staff, but it was short-lived. New alarms shrieked to life as reports flooded in of a catastrophic failure at Earth's primary phase shift array. "No," Zara breathed, her eyes widening in horror as she interpreted the incoming data. "The rift, it's expanding exponentially." Serena pushed her way to the main console, her face pale but determined. "I can stabilize it, but the cost will be unimaginable." Without waiting for authorization, she began inputting a complex series of calculations. The air itself seemed to thrum with potential energy as her fingers flew across the controls. "What are you doing?" Falco demanded, but Serena ignored him, lost in a world of quantum variables and dimensional constants. Outside, the sky blazed with impossible colors as reality itself began to warp and fold. Buildings stretched and compressed, streets curved in non-Euclidean geometries. Screams of terror and awe filled the air as humanity witnessed the birth of a new cosmic order. In a blinding flash, it was done. The rift stabilized, but at a cost beyond imagining. Earth, indeed the entire known galaxy, had been transformed. Where once discrete worlds and civilizations existed, now an infinite fractal patchwork stretched in all directions. Zara stumbled to a viewport, her mind struggling to comprehend what she saw. Familiar city blocks now butted against alien landscapes. Zenari crystal spires pierced the sky alongside human skyscrapers. In the distance, a segment of Takar jungle floated impossibly, teeming with bioluminescent life. "What have we done?" Novak whispered, his voice hoarse. Serena slumped at the console, her eyes unfocused. "Saved existence itself," she murmured, "and damned us all." As the implications of their new reality began to sink in, a new crisis emerged. Reports flooded in of entire regions phased out of normal space-time, trapped in higher dimensional pockets. And in the shadows between realities, something stirred. Entities beyond human comprehension, awakened by the cosmic restructuring. Zara squared her shoulders, knowing that the challenges ahead would dwarf anything they had faced before. The war that had started this was now a distant memory. The real struggle, to understand and stabilize this new metaverse, was just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.